Hello. By now you've finished the paperback book and you have taken the first exam for the course. So now we're moving on to the hardcover book, which is the Managerial Economics or Microeconomics book. This book you'll find is kind of short and sweet. I like it because it's to the point and doesn't have a lot of calculus and a lot of theory in it. That's the upside. The downside is you're going to find that some of the information in the text might be lacking and it doesn't go into as much detail as you might like in order to try to answer the homework questions. So if you have questions about the homework problems, don't hesitate to send me a text or an email or give me a call and ask me, or feel free to look online as well. But anyway, this book is not as interesting as the paperback book, but it's the best for managerial econ. I've searched long and hard, and this is the best book I could find for this course, which I like to have a more practical slant to this course. Okay, the other thing about the book is you're going to notice, not in the chapter 1 homework, but in the other homeworks, like for chapter 2, just a second, I'm going to look at one, pull one up. Okay, so you're going to see that when you get to the back of the chapter, you'll see that there's individual problems, okay? And then there's group problems. Okay, so you're going to be assigned some individual problems and some group problems. All of the homework assignments are individual assignments. You're supposed to work on those on your own. It's just the way they're categorized when it says individual or group. So the only group work in this course is the report at the end of the semester and the presentation. But the homework is individual. It just says group because that's the way it's categorized. Now, most of these group problems, it'll tell you in the homework assignment, you don't have to do any computations. So some of them, you'll read the question and it might ask you to compute things, but there's no computations necessary in any of the group problems. I just want you to think about think about what they're asking and answer it from a kind of a hypothetical standpoint. Okay, so let's go to let's jump right into chapter 1. So I don't have written notes for chapter 1 because my written notes were very similar to what's on the PowerPoints. But in the other chapters, I have written notes starting with chapter 3, and then I have all the PowerPoints loaded. So what's kind of interesting, what's kind of strange about this textbook is, and about this publisher is, you'll notice that the book is really short and sweet, but these PowerPoints just go on forever. So the PowerPoints do have a lot of detail. Feel free to read the PowerPoints, but it does have a lot of extra detail in the PowerPoints, and in some of the chapters, I won't even use them. Okay, so in studying for the next test and in doing the homework, obviously look at the synopses, look at the notes that I've written, and then, in order of importance, I would say synopsis, video and notes, then the book, and then the PowerPoints. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's start off with chapter 1. Now, the main points of the chapter is they're basically talking about how the definition of economics and how you can try to solve problems in the workplace, basically from an economic point of view. So when you think about economics is a rational actor paradigm. That means that in economics, we assume that people act rationally, optimally, and self-interestedly. So basically, that's just saying that we assume that people act rational and they're going to act based on incentives. So this paradigm can help you figure out why people behave the way that they do. And if you can figure out why people behave the way that they do, then you can incentivize them to motivate them to change their behavior. So we can use this whole this whole theory, if you will, to the theory that people respond to incentives to try to figure out, what's causing a problem and try to figure out how to fix it in the workplace. All right, so let me make sure I've covered all the main points here. So economics is a rational actor paradigm, assumes that people act rationally, optimally, and self-interestedly. Simply put, people respond to incentives. This paradigm can help you figure out why people behave the way they do and how you can motivate people to change. So to change behavior, you have to simply change the self-interest. You can do this by changing incentives. Okay, so how might you create incentives in the workplace? Well, you can try to reward good performance. So if you think about it, how do businesses reward good performance, and how do they try to incentivize people? Well, they will give profit sharing. They'll give bonuses. They'll give profit sharing. They will give people stock options. So they're trying to tie people's pay to performance, also to the stock price. So if pay is tied to how well the company does, or if someone's pay is tied to profitability, then or the price of the stock, then that will incentivize people to act in the same way that benefits the company or that benefits the shareholders. So that's the most common way. Now think about stock options real quick. If you don't know what a stock option is a bonus system where, let's say at the end of the year, let's just take Apple, for example. Apple's selling for around $177 today. Let's say at the end of let's fast forward to next December. Let's assume that next December, Apple's selling for $177. And Apple gives bonuses to their managers in the form of stock options at $200 a share. They're able to exercise these options in 3 years. So what that means is that that gives the managers the right to buy the options at $200 a share. Okay, now mind you, they're only trading for $177 right now. So the whole idea is that these managers will be motivated to work in a way that will make the company profitable and to work in a way that will increase the stock price. So at the end of 3 years, the stock price should be well above $200 a share if they've worked real hard and if their incentives are tied, if it works the way it's supposed to, if their incentives are tied to increasing the stock price, making the company more profitable, and so forth. So the whole idea is the managers, their behavior will be aligned to creating value for the firm. So let's just say, for example, in 3 years, the stock is selling at $250. Well, then the managers can exercise their options, meaning they can buy the stock at 200, turn around and sell it at 250, or they can keep it, but they're able to buy it at 200 when it's trading at 250. So that's the whole idea. That's the whole incentivization behind giving people stock options. But what are some problems with that? Well, it can act, it will not incentivize people if the market is in correction. Let's say we go into a recession, a stock market tumbles 20, 30, 40, 50%. It's happened in the past. Actually, analysts say that you should really expect 250% downturns in the stock market in your lifetime. So anyway, let's just say the market is in correction and these managers have worked really, really hard, and in 3 years' time, the stock is down to $150. So then you see that incentive approach didn't work at all with the stock options. Another way to incentivize people is through safety awards. So some of you who work in the oil industry, oil services industry might be familiar with that, especially down here. So these companies have these safety awards, incentivizing people to create, to behave that will prevent accidents and make the workplace a safer area by getting these safety awards. But every situation has what we call unintended consequences. The unintended consequence of that, people have found, is that it incentivizes, these safety awards incentivizes people not to report issues. So the managers will think, oh, we've really reduced problems. We've reduced a lot of risk in the workplace. We have hardly any incidents now of hardly any incidents of these problems, and everyone's getting a safety award. Everything's great, but really what's happening is people just aren't reporting problems, aren't reporting accidents and so forth. So anyway, this first chapter is just talking about how you can incentivize people to be more productive in the workforce, or incentivize them to act in a way that's going to help the market, help the stock price go higher, or help the company become more profitable. And of course, all of these things you can find unintended consequences or drawbacks with any of these. Okay, moving on here. So good incentives come from rewarding good performance, i.e. commissions on sales. Okay, we talked about that. A well-designed organization is going to be able to align an employee incentives with the organizational goals. Okay, so what if there's a problem? What if you find that there's some kind of an issue? They mentioned that they have a few examples in the book that you can read, but what if there's some kind of a problem in the workplace? So sales are down or what have you. And so there's 3 questions that you can ask yourself to try to find the source of the problem. The first one is, who is making the bad decision? Okay. The second one is, does the decision maker have enough information to make a good decision? And then the third one is, does the decision maker have the incentive to make a good decision? And so the answers to these questions will suggest solutions. So if you can let somebody with better information make the decision, or you can give the decision maker more information, or you can change the decision maker's incentives. And so there's more detail on this in the book that you can read. But that, in a nutshell, that's a way to try to find the source of the problem and try to find solutions. Okay, this is kind of an interesting example, going back to these main points here. So let's go through this real quick. So this geologist was preparing a bid for to bid on an oil tract in the Gulf of Mexico. All right, and so he knew the productivity of the nearby tracts that were owned by the company, and so since he knew how productive these other tracts were, he recommended a bid of $5 million. Okay, so the senior management bid $20 million. The next highest bid was only $750,000. So what's wrong with this picture? So why would they bid so much when he recommended $5 million? Come to find out, that was really high, because the next highest bid from them was only $750,000, and here senior management completely ignores him and bids $20 million. So come to find out, what happened here is, well, first they had to figure out why the bidding overoccurred, and then they had to try to figure out how to fix it. So, they don't even, okay, just a second, because they do not, oh yeah, they do mention the answers here. I thought I was going to have to go to the book, but I forgot it's in here. Okay, so this is what they found, that senior management made the decision to overbid. They did have enough information, but they didn't have the incentives to do so. This is why. The managers were rewarded for acquiring reserves regardless of their profitability. So for the senior managers, the more oil tracts they acquired, they were rewarded for that. So they didn't care if they were profitable or not. So that's why they overbid on it, because they just wanted the oil tract. They didn't care. So again, in this situation, it came down to the company was doing a really bad job as far as incentivizing these senior managers, which was really costing the company a lot of money. All right, now this problem, this is at the end of the chapter, and this is your this is a homework problem for you. So if you look at chapter 1, it says the chapter 1 homework, it says to read the test yourself, the test yourself section on pages 6 and 7. And that is, let me make sure it's still the same page. It's section 1.3. So read the test yourself on pages 6 and 7, section 1.3. And then just read that. We're going to go over it in a second, but read that, discuss what solutions were tried. And then I'm asking you, will the benefits of these solutions outweigh the costs? And think about, are there any better solutions? Okay, so what are we talking about here? Well, in 2006, this TV reporter was sent to this repair shop with a car that had no problems at all. He walks out of the shop with a new muffler and transmission and a bill for $8,000. So after this story came out, of course, it really hurt this company's profits. Their sales went way down. So the company, the repair shop, is trying to solve the problem. Okay, so let's go through let's see what they did. So who's making the bad decision? The mechanic. The mechanic recommended unnecessary repairs. The car was in perfectly good working condition, and the mechanic recommended $8,000 worth of repairs. Okay, so second question, does the decision maker have enough information to make a good decision? Well, yeah, he does. And in fact, he's the only one with the information. He knows if the repairs are necessary or not. So the mechanic has enough information to make the decision. So what's wrong here? He doesn't have the incentive to make a good decision because the mechanic is evaluated based on the repair work that he does, and he receives bonuses and commissions tied to the amount of repair work. So the more repair work he generates, the more money he's going to make. So this is the problem right here. They have to, how can they incentivize these mechanics to not charge people for repairs that are unnecessary? So they tried a few things. First, they separated the employees into two divisions, but that just led to colluding. They were just getting together and colluding on that. So that didn't work. Then they adopted a flat pay system where you're going to make an hourly rate or you're going to make a salary regardless of how many repairs you do. But then they had no incentive to work hard. Then they just started really slacking off. So these did not work at all. Then they had this, they tried the secret shopper. So they went back. It doesn't really say specifically, but I would assume that they went back to the old way with the bonuses and commissions. But they told the employees there's going to be basically spies. There's going to be secret shoppers randomly in there, and we're going to be reviewing your work and so forth. And these secret shoppers know what's wrong with their car, if anything, and so you'll be caught if you try to overcharge them. And so this seemed to work okay. This secret shopper scheme. But think about if there's any. Are there any other solutions that you can think of that would incentivize these employees to do the right thing and be honest with customers and still work hard? Okay, then I don't have these questions numbered, so it's a little confusing for chapter 1. That's the first question. And then the next question right here deals with ethics, and it says economics endorses self-interest. Okay, so we've talked about that, self-interest and that people act based on incentives. So can self-interest be aligned with ethical behavior? And if so, how? How can self-interest be aligned with ethical behavior? So think about that. Read the rest of the chapter, and you can look at the rest of these slides on your own, and when answering that second question. Okay, so as I said, these chapters are pretty short and sweet, with the exception of a few that are in a lot more detail, and I have much more detailed notes for. But that's it for chapter 1. So I will see you next time when we discuss chapter 2.